Hello and welcome to World Today. I'm your host Sharmeen Ali. The government has said that it has achieved significant progress with madrasa reforms as per the National Action Plan, in which madrasas were required to be regularized and maintained as far as so that in order to prevent terrorist activities and to prevent extremism, religious extremism and hatred in the country. So the government has said that significant progress has been achieved in this regard in a recent meeting between the Chief of Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa, the Education Minister Shafqat Mahmood, and with seminary leaders, where they decided that madrasas will be required to get registered and that their subjects, their students will be mainstreamed in order to include them in their curriculum, subjects such as English and mathematics and sciences, whatever other students in the country are also learning, so that they may also get jobs like everybody else, to be doctors and engineers and army officers. And in another development, the Higher Border Commission between Iran and Pakistan had a meeting, and in that the commission was established after attacks on the border on Iran border security officials. This commission was established to improve on the coordination between the two countries about border issues. So we'll be talking about both these issues with our guest today in the studio. Today we have with us Brigadier Shahid Jagir, who's an analyst, and we also have with us Mr. Amir Rana, who's also an analyst. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today. So Brigadier Shahid Jagir, I'd like to start with you and ask you that registering the madrasas, now this coordination that's taking place between the Chief of Army Staff and the Education Ministry, as well as the clerics, and the agreement that they've reached as far as registering madrasas and then mainstreaming their subjects. How important is this? Is this a first step, and then a lot more work will be needed going forward to actually bring them under the ambit of some sort of regularization in Pakistan, right?
Thank you very much. This is one of the very important segment of the National Action Plan which we devised. Now, madrasas are a reality in Pakistan, and this is a sort of a place where the poor people or poor children get the education. Now, but on the other hand, these madrasas are their curriculum and other issues are not in line with the modern lines, and also there are few reports that these madrasas are also a source of
we are going to have to pause for a short break, and then we'll continue with the program. Please stay with us. We're going to pause for a short break.
इंतजार की घड़ियां खत्म हो चुकी हैं।
Hello and welcome back. We were talking about madrasa reforms, which are a critical part of the National Action Plan to curb religious extremism and to prevent terrorist networks from spreading in the country. And I'd like to speak to now Amir Rana about these madrasa reforms. That approximately 3.5 million students are learning in madrasas. That's an approximate figure. The official one may be different. And in about 30,000 madrasas around the country. Now, that's a monumental task to bring them under the ambit of regularization and all of that. In the National Action Plan, it said that they have to be regulated and reformed. Those are the exact words. Madrasas, just to bring it into the correct kind of light, they have provided a lot of services to Pakistan, orphan children, poorer children, families can afford sending their children there. They get free lodging and food and accommodation and studying. However, they've been focused on religious teaching. Religious teaching is also very essential in our country, and a lot of these madrasas provide the religious teachers for our own children and everything. So that they're doing an important job. However, it's important to be regularized so that there's no extremism and hatred being spread. So this recent development, Amirana, what would you like to say about that? How important is it?
I think this is one of the important development, and it was expected, I think, the last year when the previous government already had agreed on this new system of introducing the few subject in the madrasa sector, and to conduct the matriculation and this FA examination organized by the Federal Educational Board. So this consensus was reached, but I think there were some issues, logistical issues, or implementation was getting difficult because of our culture in bureaucracy. And Army Chief had took the lead and help to remove these hurdles. So this is the continuity of the reforms process which is going on. Registration issue was resolved back in 2017, and all madrasas agreed on the registration form and the process was started. So this is a good step. At least the madrasa sector is catering more than 13% of our education need, though it's not parallel to our formal or other informal institutions. I hope it will be contribute in more productive way, but the major hurdle always remain. It's not the religious education we can say is a source of extremism or some other things. There's the two factors always considered to be, which is complicate the madrasa challenge in Pakistan. This is not the religious education, not nobody can deny the services they're providing, but there's a two issue. Political economy, which has been developed around the madrasa sector, and we have seen that a new religious elite has emerged in the country. And the second is the politicization of this madrasa sector. And so far, government has no plan so far to address. And unless these two factors will remain attached with this education sector, so they will continue producing the various kind of the expression, the political expression. You may call them extremism or radicalism, and sometime they will generate some anger because they are catering the lower classes of the countries. They have their own grievances against the system and against the elites here. So these the core problem are different in my view, and though this is could be considered as one of the important steps, but this is how the state deals, and the institutions, they have comparatively rather is a vague threat perception. This is what we had witnessed during the last more than one decade.
Brigadier Shahid, do you think, I mean, the financial regulation of these madrasas is going to be very important? Who is funding them, and what is the, what exactly is behind the madrasa and all? That's going to be very important. Should the federal government be funding the madrasas to just make sure that they come under their control, or at least under their, they can watch over what's going on over there?
The education minister has given a hint in this meeting that if resource permitting, if we have the resources, we will definitely help them. But naturally, this is a very, very important step which the government has taken at this time, and it was the need of the hour. Now, you see, these children, those who are, studying in these madrasas, barring from, radicalization and other, every child is very, very important for a nation, because education is the strength of a nation. Now, till the time you do not expose them to the modern education, that is physics, chemistry, English,
they can't compete with anybody else.
They don't have the vision.
Yeah.
They will never get the vision.
They don't have the ability.
Now, if these children are brought to the mainstream, as been highlighted during this meeting, they can come into the federal board for examination and all, and other provincial boards. They can at least have a vision that they can become the doctors, as you have said. They can become the engineers, because they are very, very talented
Yes, they are.
children.
And they'll have a
They,
direction in
they
life.
can become very, very, highly qualified IT individuals.
Yes.
Now, at the same time, where this thing is a very positive step, another very positive step which needs to be taken and which has been deliberated previously is the technical education. Now, everyone does not make an doctor and engineer.
Yeah.
You know, you have, we have a base for IT development, but at the lower level. So why don't we harness that for these people, these
Yes.
children? That is
And
what,
also, sir,
that is
to-
what the chief said at that time over there. The second thing is that the technical education, the lower educated students who cannot qualify to be the doctors and engineers after, FSc or FA, so they also need to be a skilled laborers. That
Right.
is why you need to harness them and put in their syllabus some technical education. So the moment they
Yes.
get out of the madrasas, so they are not only dependent on to be prayer leaders tomorrow. They can join the civic community and become a good member of the society.
Right, they should be employable.
Yes.
Amir Rana Sab, now these students who are in madrasas right now, many of them are already of an age where they've missed out on years of formal education subjects such as English and sciences and math. How can the government or the madrasa leaders, how are they going to bridge that gap and how will they get teachers for these subjects from outside the madrasas? That is going to require significant financial augmentation by the government as well, because naturally madrasas, they work off of donations mostly. So how is that gap going to be filled?
I think we have a very simplistic view about the madrasa sector in the country. This is not the case that they are not providing the formal education. Right now, there's a 5 madrasa board exists in Pakistan, and 3 formally have already made mandatory that they will provide the formal education to their students. And but right now the challenge they were facing, their student appeared in this formal education examination as a private candidates, and this is government has somehow formalized the whole process. So this has been done.
Right.
And the second issue, that's unemployment rate. I think this is also maybe we have again the simplistic view. This madrasa sector isn't facing as acute problem of unemployment as other. Rather, what we have seen, this is empirically proven that the madrasa students are encroaching in formal education sector. If you go, and this is different governments have taken many initiatives. They allowed madrasa graduates to go in the teaching sector and all these things. And now if you go in any college or a school, you will see that the all language, Arabic, Islamic studies teacher, mostly they are coming from madrasa background.
Yes.
So this is maybe the different question. What my point was that rather this is already a lot of reformation process is going on, and madrasa boards realize that the challenges they are facing, and they introduce the reforms by themselves. What I'm saying, despite all their own initiative, the issue of the one mindset, conservatism, or hasn't been addressed. Whether they are producing the minds, they are creative and contribute in the development of the knowledge and the society. Yes, there are few, but at large, this madrasa sector is not producing that minds, which is required. They also have the excuse, the formal sector, that neither the other formal education sector is producing the required knowledge economy. So this is the problem. And for madrasa, diagnosis is that this is the political economy, and the politicization is a major source. And that's why we see the different expression. As far as you're saying that the madrasa need the funding, and if you can, one can control the madrasas while providing them the resources.
Yeah.
So many madrasas already getting the funds from different government departments.
Okay.
They are not dependent. They want only the independence. But when we say that the new religious elite has emerged in the country, they want independence.
And that's
they
what the
don't want
army chief
allowed
has
to be.
ensured that
Yeah,
they'll be
and the government already they are, have how much the education budget we have uh, in provinces in the federal government, and you think the government will go and to take over all this sector, which is catering, as I mentioned, the 13% of this is not a practical. The problem is what we had the interaction with different ministries here or other security institutions. They have very simplistic view and simplistic solution, and this is. In my view, at least this step that they had somehow the formalize this formal education, this is good step, but the whole madrasa sector need drastic changes and reforms, which we haven't been
drastic changes are needed.
Yeah.
Brigadier Shahid, now the children in madrasas, like in any religious schools, you have other religions which are running schools. You have Catholic schools, Christian schools, convents and all, where they're actually teaching the children all the subjects as well, but they're also teaching them character building to be very responsible members of society. So how can the madrasa students also be taught that? This is something that I feel is very important for all children in any school system, to be taught how to be good citizens and to just build on their characters and how to face life, how to face the day-to-day life, whether it's their own finances and like being employable, things like that have to be included in the curriculum as well, right?
Absolutely. Your curriculum at college and school level, when you say the Pakistan studies and English and maths and other subjects, it has an inbuilt, approach to how to be a civilized member of a society. The other thing is that when, as I said, that when these changes will incorporate, the students will start coming into the better colleges tomorrow. They will interact with the other students, and then they will be educated mentally. Like any one of us goes to USA or Europe or other universities, there that we realize that what is the difference between our universities and colleges and their universities and colleges.
Right.
Why they are better than us. So that is how the education is, mental education is transformed. When they come back, they then educate and they then point it out to the others. So this is, I say, this is a first step, and it's a very right step at this time. One is to harness our brain drain. The second is to get the best out of those students which are lacking in these subjects, and because of these they cannot get into the right field in a civilized society.
Right. It's a matter of harnessing the talent.
It is a matter of harnessing. Now, as far as the resources are concerned, majority of the madrasas are independent in terms of their financial issues. Now, Pakistan is one of the country which is leading in the charity. Now, these all madrasas are being run by the charity. Now, so after registration, maybe a time to come. This is the first step. So their audit and everything will come, and then more the civilized thing and all will start coming. What syllabus we are talking about at the moment in madrasa is Darse-e-Nizami, which is very old, centuries old. So that also, as my colleague is saying, that needs to be revised and incorporated. But slowly and gradually, this is very important, because we have to get out of that fixed frame of mind of these children.
And also, yes, and the whole the perception of them that there's some other people. These are Pakistani children who need to have the same opportunities as all the other children.
Exactly.
And there's hope for all these wonderful children also, to have opportunities like everyone else.
If I'm educated from this, I'm stamped.
Yes, exactly.
I'm stamped that he is the one who is studied from Madrasa. He would not be knowing English, he would not be knowing math, he would not be knowing physics, he would not be knowing chemistry. So all doors are closed for me. When all this will be inculcated, they have the chance, they have
Yes.
the future prospects for themselves,
Yes.
and also they will be tomorrow the role models for the others.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
if he can do, why can't
yes,
I?
and let's keep in mind that they're also from very poor socio-economic backgrounds, so then they have the same opportunity as others. Let's move on now to the Higher Border Commission meeting that was held in Islamabad. Amir Rana Sahab, how important do you think it is for this committee to keep meeting on a regular basis? We've had border issues with Iran previously, with attacks on the Pakistani side, attacks on the border guard. So after that, this commission was formed, and then this is the second meeting that has taken place since it was formed in 2017. So ongoing basis, now they're going to be talking about increasing the entry crossing points, and the fencing has partly already taken or has already taken place, and other topics as well, for example, making out new maps together and things like that. So this is a good step towards coordination between the two countries, right?
Yeah, I think it's needed, the cooperation by the both countries, especially in the context of the very porous border. As mentioned, that this is part of the initiative they agreed on in December 2018. But I think this wasn't a quite unique initiative or the agreement. Even in the past, the both side had agreed these kind of the memorandum of understanding. Interestingly, all this Iran-Pakistan MOUs called that we have a huge dustbin, and we sign agreement MOUs and put all these agreement in this dustbin.
They're
And
not
formally,
followed
this kind of the meetings happens, but more effective mechanism, which is quite traditional and still delivering, is the Pakistan side. And Iranian guards, they have constant interaction with each other, and most of the issues being resolved through these mechanisms. But I think as the problem is getting complicated, the both sides blame each other that they are supporting the terrorist, those who target Iran and in Pakistan. So this is getting more complex. Fencing is in the problem because the whole province economy depends on the informal economy from Iran. So all the markets in Iran, in Balochistan, flooded with the Iranian goods. So you can't find, hardly you can find few items from Pakistan.
Okay.
So this is complicated. If you will go for the fencing, though it's not practical, this is not as viable as it is with the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. This is complicated, and there's a lot of issues are connected. And the best way, I think, is the both sides agreed that they will take the zero tolerance approach against all shades of the terrorist groups operating on each other side.
And Prime Minister
And this
Imran
is
Khan's visit
yeah,
to Iran
this is also
fortified that.
But this is ideal condition. But in the regional context, it may not be, because those groups are operating against Iran in this region. Usually they blame they are the proxies of or some other anti-Iran countries in the Middle East. And it is often been reported and blamed in Iranian media on Pakistan that Pakistan is basically allowing this space because of the pressure from these kind of the countries. And what we have seen that even the Western countries, they keep their lips tight on the issue of these Jaish al-Adl, all these groups. Though it was a very welcome development by the US that they declared BLA as a terrorist organization, but they have to be form a one uniform policy approach towards all shades of the terrorist groups, whether operating against each nation, one nation or another. So
Absolutely.
this is more border coordination. This is important, but somehow the level of the trust is missing, which we had until 80s, and Brigadier Saab may correct me that until 74, the 3 operations which conducted against the Baloch insurgents were conducted by the support of Shah of Iran.
Right.
And we had the confidence level at that level, and this level of the confidence is required. And I don't think so there is any conducive environment for this kind of the trust
Right.
building.
Pakistan and Iran have very strong historical ties. They were the first country that recognized us, and then their leader was the first to visit Pakistan at that time. So, Brigadier Shahid, now the relations between Pakistan and Iran are pretty friendly. I mean, Prime Minister Imran Khan has gone over and visited Tehran, and they had agreements on various issues. Despite the fact that the relationship with Saudi Arabia has become very strong, with Pakistan, the visits of the two leaders to each country, the financial aid that's come into Pakistan from Saudi Arabia, yet Pakistan remains neutral and has offered to mediate between the two countries in any disputes. What would you like to say about this relationship?
Okay, look, Pakistan is very apprehensive when there is dealing between Iran and Saudi Arabian nexus is concerned. You know, Pakistan have very strong relations with Saudi Arabia,
Yes.
and as a brotherly country, you know, Iran is very close to us.
Yeah.
But the issue of this border coordination is very, very important from three perspectives. One is that, as my colleague has said, to stop the smuggling of not only goods but fuel, and also from our side the food grains and all. The second important thing is the terrorist organization which are, you know, those who are operating against us, you know, falling across in Iran. You know, Kulbhushan Yadav is one of the example that we have.
They were operating out of Iran.
Yes, he was operating from Chabahar, and you know, he used to cross the border from.
Unfortunately, Brigadier Shahid, we're going to have to cut this short. We're running out of time due to the Prime Minister who's going to be speaking in a few minutes. Thank you so much, Brigadier Shahid, for joining us, and Amir Rana for joining us on today's program. Viewers, see you next time on World Today. Bye-bye for now from Sharmeen Ali and our team at World Today.
इंशाल्लाह कंप्लीट थी वैसी फंक्शनल इंशाल्लाह उनको करे सो ई साल भी उन तो इलावा इतना जेड़े सीवर दे मसले और इतना जेड़े वाटर